In today's video, we have a complete summary of the events of Seasons 1, 2, 3 and 4 of the series Stranger Things, leading up to the release of the 5th and final season. But before we begin, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated. Welcome to ViraRecaps. We start with Season 1, which begins in the town of Hawkins on November 6, 1980. After friends Will, Mike, Dustin and Lucas finish their favorite game, Dungeons & Dragons, Will encounters a dark, terrifying creature on his way home. He flees to the shed behind his house and then vanishes completely. Following Will's disappearance, his mother Joyce insists that Police Chief Jim Hopper, former Vietnam veteran who lost his own daughter Sarah to cancer, take the matter seriously and search for her missing son. At the same time, Will's 3 friends set out to look for him, only to find a mysterious girl with a shaved head and limited vocabulary who has a tattoo of the number 11. They name her 11, or L. Using the game board, 11 explains that Will is trapped in a dark parallel dimension called the Upside Down and is being hunted by a monster they name the Demogorgon, inspired by a character in their game. Meanwhile, Nancy Wheeler and her friend Barbara go to a party at Steve Harrington's house. While Nancy and Steve get romantic, Barbara is left sitting alone by the pool and is suddenly snatched by the Demogorgon. We are then introduced to Jonathan, Will's older brother, who was taking photos near the location where Will disappeared. He discovers a clear image of the Demogorgon in one of his photos. Joyce begins receiving strange phone calls filled with static and sees the house lights flickering wildly. Convinced her son is trying to communicate, she paints an alphabet on the wall with Christmas lights. Will sends a message spelling out "Run" just before the Demogorgon bursts through the wall. The next day, a body believed to be Will's is found. However, 11 and Joyce are convinced he is still alive. Hopper eventually discovers that the body is a fake, made of synthetic materials. He breaks into Hawkins' lab, finds a portal between dimensions, and discovers that 11 is actually the daughter of Terry Ives, a woman who was a subject in Project MK Ultra under Dr. Martin Brenner. Terry was pregnant and thought she had miscarried, but Brenner stole the child, named her Jane, and raised her as a weapon under the number 11. Later, bullies force Mike to jump off a cliff, but 11 saves him by levitating him back out and breaking the bully's arms. During a chase where Brenner's men pursue the kids on bikes, 11 flips a van upside down with her mind. The group then uses a sensory deprivation tank at the school to help 11 communicate with Will and Barbara in the other world. She confirms that Barbara is dead. Nancy and Jonathan try to trap the Demogorgon at the Byers' house. Steve breaks in, thinking they are having an affair, but ends up joining the fight, beating the monster with a baseball bat. At the school, 11 kills dozens of Brenner's agents with her psychic powers. The Demogorgon appears and attacks Brenner, or so it seems, and 11 disintegrates the monster, disappearing with it into the Upside Down. Simultaneously, Hopper and Joyce enter the Upside Down, find Will entangled in slimy vines in the library, and save him. 1 month later, on Christmas Eve 1980, everything seems normal. However, Will coughs up a strange slug-like creature and mentally flashes into the Upside Down for a moment, signaling that the danger is not over. Season 2 picks up around Halloween 1980. The kids dress up at Ghostbusters. Mike calls out to 11 every night on the radio with no response. Nancy feels guilty about Barbara's death, and Barbara's parents hire an eccentric private investigator, Murray Bauman, to find the truth. Joyce begins dating Bob Newby, a kind-hearted man. Dustin finds a small, 4-legged creature that loves candy and names it Dart. He later discovers Dart is the same slug Will coughed at baby Demogorgon. Will continues to have visions of a giant smoke monster in the Upside Down, later called the Mind Flayer. In reality, 11 didn't die. She returned from the Upside Down and lived in the woods until Hopper found her and hid her in his grandfather's cabin. Dr. Sam Owens takes over Hawkins' lab. A new girl, Max, and her aggressive brother Billy move to town. A rivalry forms between Billy and Steve, though Steve is actually worried about losing Nancy to Jonathan. Nancy and Jonathan investigate Barbara's death and record a confession from Owens. Steve takes on a protective, motherly role toward Dustin this season. The Mind Flayer completely possesses Will through a hive mind, demanding the house stay freezing cold. Will draws scribbles that form a map of tunnels beneath Hawkins. When scientists burn one of the tunnels, Will screams in agony, revealing he is physically connected to the creatures. 11 gets angry at Hopper for hiding the truth about her mother. She runs away to Chicago and meets Kali number 008 and a gang of outcasts, but she eventually leaves them to return to her friends. Demodogs attack the lab and Bob sacrifices himself to open the doors and save the others, dying a gruesome death. 11 returns just in time to kill the monsters. The group burns the Mind Flayer out of Will's body at Hopper's cabin, and 11 closes the gate. The season ends at the Snowball Dance, where Mike and 11 kiss, while the Mind Flayer watches from the Upside Down. Season 3 takes place in the summer of 1985 with the opening of the Starcourt Mall. Mike and 11 spend a lot of romantic time together, forcing Hopper to enforce a door open 3 inches rule. Will just wants to play D&D, but his friends are preoccupied with relationships. Dustin returns from camp claiming he has a girlfriend in Utah named Susie, though no one believes him. Steve is working at an ice cream shop with his new friend Robin. Dustin intercepts a coded Russian message, discovering that Russians are trying to open a new gate under the mall. Billy has a car accident and is dragged into a steel mill where the Mind Flayer possesses him. He helps gather human bodies to form a massive fleshy monster. Erica Sinclair, Lucas's little sister, helps the group sneak through the vents. The kids use fireworks to distract the monster. 11 frees Billy from control by reminding him of happy memories with his mother. Billy sacrifices himself to save everyone. 11 loses her powers after removing a piece of the Mind Flayer from her leg. Hopper fights a Russian assassin and, attempting to close the gate, appears to sacrifice himself in the resulting explosion. The incident is covered up as a mall fire. The Byers family and 11 move to the West Coast. The season ends with 11 reading a touching letter from Hopper. In a post-credits scene, it is revealed that the Russians have an American prisoner and are feeding prisoners to a Demogorgon. Season 4 is set in the spring of 1986. Mike visits 11 and the Byers in California. 11, now powerless, is bullied by a girl named Angela, leading 11 to hit her in the face with a roller skate. Joyce discovers Hopper is alive in a Russian prison and travels with Murray to save him with the help of a guard named Enzo. In Hawkins, Mike and Dustin join the Hellfire Club, led by Eddie Munson, while Lucas tries to become a popular basketball player. Max has broken up with Lucas and is grieving Billy. A cheerleader named Chrissy is brutally murdered by a new entity called Vecna. Eddie is framed for the crime. The friends discover that Vecna is actually Henry Creel No. 1, the son of a family killed in the 50s. We learn that 11 banished him to the other dimension in 1979, where he transformed into Vecna, revealing that the Upside Down is stuck on the date November 6, 1980. Vecna targets Max, but she escapes by listening to her favorite song by Kate Bush. Hopper escapes prison and fights a Demogorgon in Russia. The group uses Max as bait at the Creel house. Eddie and Dustin play a metal concert in the Upside Down to distract the bats, while Steve, Nancy, and Robin burn Vecna's physical body. 11 fights Vecna mentally from a pizza dough freezer. However, Jason Chrissy's boyfriend breaks Max's music player. Max is fatally injured and clinically dies, allowing Vecna to open 4 massive gates in Hawkins. 11 restarts Max's heart, but Max remains in a coma. Vecna survives, and ash from the Upside Down begins falling on Hawkins. The season ends with the group watching the gates spread across the town. That concludes the summary. I hope you liked the video. Please give it a like to help us continue, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell for updates. I hope you enjoyed it. This was ViraRecaps, and I'll see you in the next video.